Welcome to the Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zamet, and as you sort of can tell what to do, it's sort of the morning time hours whilst I'm recording this particular episode. But let's get on with the show. Boy, it's a big one. Anyway, news really that is circulating at the moment is a lot of internet-based celebrities, and I don't mean Hollywood celebrities on internet. I mean internet sort of celebrities, internet creators, especially on YouTube, are in absolute disgust that the reports, and I say reports, that Starfighter, the film that is in production, which is coming out in 2027, starring Ryan Gosling, will feature a character in the story, Rey Skywalker. People are disgusted from this. I'm only reporting this from the various internet celebrities I've checked upon discussing this on their own platform. It is doing the rounds massively right now. So technically, Starfighter is 5 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, which was episode 9, is going to reportedly have the character Rey Skywalker in it. More about that in my views coming up shortly. Speaking of which, with the Star Wars news that's happening right now, Ahsoka, the live action TV series, has finished its principal shooting. It doesn't mean it's completely over. There could be reshoots. Reshoots do not mean, oh my God, we've made a mistake. It means let's just add-ons or, slight variations of shots that they want to fix up. That's what it is. So, but essentially, the main shooting for Ahsoka, which is a live action series for Disney Plus, has finished. It's wrapped. So they're going through the editing process. I'd say so as I speak right now. Anyway, that's the news for this time around. Let's get into the views. Views is my story idea. It's just a story idea. It's not what I demand that Star Wars do. It's just a story idea because ever since 1977, us fans, whether you're small, mediocre, or massive, we've always created versions of Star Wars. It was a thing then, and it is massively now. But anyway, my story idea is to do with the news report that's circulating at the moment, which is about Rey Skywalker, the character, which is played by Daisy Ridley, that's going to be in Starfighter. Now, just to give you a quick update of what is being reported. So Ryan Gosling plays a Starfighter, and he's looking after a Force-sensitive child, which has been featured in the 2 production photos so far. This guy is apparently his nephew or some sort of relation to him. Amy Adams is the mother of this child. And so what he does is he's attempting, Ryan Gosling's character, whoever his name is having this person, this little guy, which we don't know the official character name yet, is taking this Jedi-sensitive kid to a Master Jedi. The Master Jedi is Rey Skywalker. That's what we know so far. That's the reports. Let me tell you something from my behalf. I accept Star Wars as it is. That doesn't mean what's given to me, I must eat it up like candy. No. I do and do not like parts of Star Wars from the beginning to now. But the biggest thing that we, as hardcore Star Wars fans, or even small Star Wars fans, really need to get is the story as it is. This is the story. Whether we like it or not, it still is filled with that same Star Wars spirit from 1977, probably in variants of ways, but it's still the same sort of feel. It may not feel exactly like the 1977 or the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy, or even some would compare it. Does it feel like the sequel trilogy? But the story, whatever it goes to, is the story we must accept. It's the story. It's still a good story. I can point out really cringeworthy parts of the story that would put me to a point where, man, they've lost me. Star Wars has lost me. But no, I believe in Star Wars as a story because it's filled with such a reality, believe it or not, a reality with life. Psychologically, it's amazing. Like, I just think it's one amazing psychology story set in a real stylistic version of space. Rey Skywalker being in this Starfighter film is Rey Skywalker being in this Starfighter film. If that's the case, that's the case. To be honest, 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker, which Rey was a part of, who then pronounced herself as Rey Skywalker, 5 years after that timeline, of course it's going to happen. That's it. I think the discuss of Rey being in the Starfighter film is just a waste of energy. I reckon the biggest waste of energy still to this day, and I've said it for a long time, you may hate me for this, but I think the influence from internet celebrities, which I do admire and respect their opinions, but they're just putting such a dampener on Star Wars. This is what I believe that is why Star Wars is so toxic, is because the negative feedback of why the story was not done in a certain way. The story is the story. That's the story. If Rey's coming back in, Rey Skywalker that is, then she's coming back in. This is where the journey, you got to let the journey take you on that ride. I mean, I just saw a film last week, one battle after another. I didn't exactly think it was the best story flow for what I was expecting, but I accept the story for what it is. There's highlights and there's lowlights in everything. But I think the internet celebrity, the people who think they're on top of the world because they've got a lot of viewers, a lot of subscribers, which, compared to my station, is a big contrast. But, I'm here as the Force always, no matter what. I don't always like where the story goes or the style of something or whatever it is. But if Rey Skywalker is going to be in Starfighter, which is set 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker, it makes sense. There is a reason. You can't just push that person to a side or that character aside because you don't want to see it. I tell you, it's the toxic behavior is coming within the hardcore Star Wars fans. Don't get me wrong, not all hardcore Star Wars fans. I think there is many people out there who just embrace the story what it is. Even if you don't like the story, then just don't like the story. Watch it with the sense of fun it is. Like, I'm not that excited for The Mandalorian or Grogu because of this actual public first trailer, but I was excited for it much more when I saw the tease and Star Wars Japan. But I'm still just embracing it for what it is, what direction it takes us on. That's my story idea. It's not an exact story idea, but the story is actually just accepting the story for what it is. It's not about you just taking the candy and eating it up. It's just about letting someone else's vision, who actually owns it and has the creative rights to do that, and let them do that. If it was put in the hands of you, then great, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. The only time that you will lose me as a hardcore Star Wars fan, even though I still will be a hardcore Star Wars fan, contradictive enough as that sounds, is if they ever reboot it. I just go, whoa, 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 whoa. All these years of following a timeline and you just want to reboot it, that's when I'll just go, whoa, you know. But I will still accept that next movie for what it is. Anyway, so that's my story idea. Let's get into reviews. Reviews this time around before delicious reviews. Now, reviews is going to be something very unusual. Now, I've been in New York many times, many times, maybe 8 or 9. I love New York. It's so good. Oh my God. I was passing, I think it was a Burger King, and it was the time of the, it was actually after the whole prequel era had gone, just only a couple of years after that. I've been there about 2004, but a couple of years after that, you know. But they had, in this Burger King, a special Star Wars Revenge of the Sith meal. I had to go and get it. Part of the meal, this was in it. This is a Revenge of the Sith little cylinder with a digital watch. Man, this is... You don't get that here in Melbourne, Australia, in a McHappy meal, let me tell you, or whatever it is. But I thought, man, I'm rocking that one. It's got Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith. Look at that, beautiful. This will, look, it's not the best watch in the world. It's great presentation, especially for a Burger King meal deal. Like, you just would not get this in a meal deal in Melbourne, Australia, in one of those, takeaway outlets. I'll give this, look, about an 8 out of 10. But the fact that this was still available years after in a meal deal, I said, I'm taking that. Got that in the collection. Digital watch, Revenge of the Sith. Look at that. Even on the, look at that. Beautiful. Hasn't got any batteries in at the moment, but I'll put it in there. Revenge of the Sith. Burger King, New York. 8 out of 10. Let's get into interviews, because this is a big one this week, my goodness. Big one. Now, I'll say that I'm going to answer these questions fairly briefly, because I've had a bit of time already on the show. But our favourite interviewer that is not on the actual show, that seems to be like an interviewer for me, he's Michael from Werribee South. Crazy as my hairstyle is, crazy as that man is, don't worry, I know him specifically. His questions for me this week is to do with Visions, which is a on Disney Plus. It's mainly Japanese influence, but it's really shorts, Star Wars shorts, Visions. So the first question is, Kevin Penkin involved in Star Wars Visions 3? I love his work. That's what he said. That's what Michael said. No, he was only in the first Visions. We're coming up to Visions 3. Visions Series 1, maybe Season 1. He was in that. He's a composer, and he was only a part of that one. Just to get a straightforward answer to that question. The next question, how do Visions differ from other Star Wars? Well, one, it's shorts, meaning they're like very short little episodes, 5, 10, more like 10 minute sort of episodes in a sort of creative, animated sort of way. Like, they're very creative, very creative. So they really just differ because it's like little chunks of fun, artistic Star Wars entertainment. That's what it is. So that's the answer to that question. The next question from Michael from Werribee South is, what is the timeline of Visions? Very good question. There's no timeline. It's just a non-canon Star Wars TV series of shorts. That's it. Just fun, creative pieces of visual art in a motion way, not just stills. And that's what it is. There's no timeline for Visions. The next question from Michael. If I never watched Star Wars Visions, will I understand it starting from series 3? Yes, because they're shorts. They're just little fun stories. You can start from episode 3, season 3, episode 4, episode 1, and just have fun. In fact, this is a really good way of getting into Star Wars. The only thing I'll say is that when you watch these, it's not exactly the feel of Star Wars in their episodic movie releases or even their TV live action series or even the other animated series, but it does have a great sense of Star Wars feel, but in a very creative way. You can start anywhere in Visions. Visions 1, Visions 2, Visions 3. Really highly recommend these. I don't watch them over and over, but I do think they're fantastic. Anyway, another question from Michael from Werribee South. Is Star Wars Visions a continuation of Visions Pride? No. 0. Let's just end it right there. 0. Is Star Wars Visions a continuation of the Vision Pride? No. That's it. Answer. Next question. Is Star Wars Visions 3 canon? Well, I sort of answered that already. No, it's not canon. It's a part of the Star Wars universe, meaning it's an accepted Star Wars story, but it's not in the timeline. The word canon is another way of saying timeline. It's often used nowadays. It never used to be said even back in the prequel days, or especially here in Melbourne, Australia. But it only started, this canon really, this word canon really started when Disney bought the rights to Lucasfilm, hence Star Wars, and the word canon has been heavily used for about the last 10 years. So it's really saying pretty much timeline, and Visions 1, 2, or 3 is not part of the timeline. It does involve aspects from it, but it's not a part of it. But they're original stories. Now, the next question from Michael from Werribee South, I think this is the last one, is why do Star Wars fans dislike Star Wars Vision? Well, I don't think they don't dislike it. I don't speak to a lot of people about Visions, but I know that Visions was the third biggest, was third or fourth biggest panel event at Star Wars Celebration in Japan. So I would assume that, and it was played in the main stage there, but on the last day. I think it definitely has a big following. I actually didn't go to that panel as I was doing other things at that time for Star Wars, for myself at Star Wars Celebration. I was not overly excited to go and see the Visions panel. I was more excited to go and see panels like Lucasfilm ILM panel, which is all about the special effects, which had the actual people who create, the special effects and just the intensity behind that. I was into seeing other panels, like more, I saw a cosplay panel, that was great. Obviously the panels, the big ones there, Mandalorian Grogu was big, and obviously the Andor panel was big. It was the second biggest one. But I didn't get to go to the Visions panel there. I would have gone if I could spare the time, but it was just in a point that I just didn't see it. But I don't think Star Wars fans dislike Star Wars Vision. I don't know the statistics on that, but I would guess no. Anyway, look, that is this particular episode. It's quite long today because I've had a bit of a rant at the start, but a rant with specific positive information with a bit of a negative undertone about it, but negative because it's a bit frustrating at times. And obviously we've got Michael from Werribee South. He loves the show. Anyway, until the next time, my friends, keep rocking.